In Austria, we do, of course, have this big old Cybertruck here on display. It is the future of Tesla, and of course, that's exciting. But what's more exciting is keeping the past alive. If only there was a place that knew how to fix something like a Roadster, or for that matter, 3SX and Y. You know what? I think I just found Pete Gruber from Gruber Motors.
We are actually that shop that can repair the old legacy Teslas, the Roadsters.
Can and does. So tell us about your background real quick.
Well, the background is since I was a kid, I was in electronics. While the other kids were out playing baseball, I was building audio amplifiers, working with transistors, fixing all of my relatives' tube TVs. See, I go back that far.
Wow.
And that just stuck. So in 2014, I bought a Tesla Roadster. And for the first year, I didn't realize what was inside it, because one day a field engineer walks by my car as I was taking my lunch out, and he says, "What's the big black box?" I said, "It's a three-phase inverter." We happen to be in the critical power repair business, UPSs, battery backup systems. And he said, "You know, we repair those." That's what started Gruber Motor Company. We got our first customer out of San Francisco. He was facing a $10,000 PEM replacement. We said, "We're going to fix it for you," and we did for $2,400, and the word spread quickly. There's an alternative to Tesla, and ever since then, the Roadsters keep flooding in.
So now, was going to ask, why would you choose this profession, but it sounds like it chose you.
We've been in it all along. For 40 years, we've been designing and building computer rooms and data centers. We've been manufacturing data cabling products, fiber optics. We've been repairing critical power equipment, lighting inverters, UPSs and data centers. And these cars are identical to a UPS. The only difference is what it powers. One powers a bunch of servers in a data center. The other powers a drive motor. But the basic concept is the same, a DC plant and a three-phase inverter.
So you've worked on a couple Roadsters, I'd say, what, 20% of them?
That's probably a safe bet, yes.
A safe bet. Do you think there's anyone who's worked on more Roadsters, apart from Tesla, than you? Well, than your shop? I mean, your fingerprints are on there for sure.
Right.
But your shop, who's done more? Anybody?
Our competitors, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there are a number of fine independents around the world that are actually doing a great job with Roadsters. Here in Europe, you have a number of them. Mars Orbiter, Evmix Nielsen, Chris Rosa, GS in Switzerland, Marco No up in northern Germany. These are fine companies that are learning how to repair the Roadster. And then you have the UK equivalent of that. Neil Wise, for example. Andy Nichol, who's starting to get good at fixing Roadsters. In the US, we have Electrified, we've got Carl Medlock, and then, of course, ourselves.
Right.
The Roadsters that need anything done with electronics, the deep dive electronics, generally come to us. We're like the brain surgeons of Roadsters.
Yeah. You do the open heart surgery that need.
Exactly.
Any shop can fix, any custom shop can fix a door handle or, you know, a loose seatbelt buckle.
Suspensions, tires, what we call low-tech auto.
Right.
But when it comes to working with the electronics, that's where we shine. Even Tesla recognizes that and sends us things to repair at times.
The thing is, anyone can get good at a thing, but there's only so many of these left. There's probably, what, 2,000 left?
2,000 left. On our website, grubermotors.com, there's a Tesla Roadster census, little icon in the upper right-hand corner. If you ever want to see how many are left, go there. It'll tell you where they're located, the VIN number, and we're accounting for about 2,000 of them at this point out of 2412, which isn't bad when you think about it. Yeah.
Because they're valuable. Now, I caught your presentation a little bit ago. Tell me about the collectible value of a Roadster today.
2 years ago, they began to go, the prices began to rise. The worst time was about 4 years ago when they were selling on eBay for about $40,000, a fully functioning Roadster. Then we started our free Roadster matchmaking service, and invariably people that were listing on our site asked, what should I price it? My advice is always the same. Start a little high. People like to feel like they got a bargain.
Yeah.
So that advice began to take off, and the next thing you know, Roadsters are selling for $120,000 to $130,000 for non-pedigreed functioning Roadsters. Something else happened in the meantime, though.
Yes.
The original Roadster owners were a select group of people that generally had disposable income. They were a certain age group. They weren't the guys starting families, trying to get a mortgage, and they couldn't afford a toy like a two-seater sports car.
Right.
So the affluent people at the time that had disposable income and were willing to gamble on a company near bankruptcy were far and few between. But that generation now is going away. We have back surgeries, we have knee surgeries, we have widows selling cars. People can't get in and out of the cars anymore.
Yeah.
And that's the fundamental reason that we have such a glut of Roadster sales currently.
Wow. And you're saying about 50 right now.
We have 50 plus on our site at this point.
Wow. That's insane.
Now that will of course end. There's a lot of exchange of new owners coming into the fray, and the prices right now are depressed. You can literally buy a functioning Roadster currently for about $70,000 to $85,000.
Wow. 70 to 85, good to go. What kind of range are they getting these days?
Typical range is 150 to 160 miles range, which is about 20 away from what they were getting when they were new. Not bad.
Not bad. Batteries have survived better than we thought. There have been electrical fire issues. What has newer cars done to mitigate that?
The battery design, let me back way up. I had a conversation with Martin Eberhardt years ago. He said, when we developed the Tesla Roadster battery, we had no idea how it was going to function in real life because nothing like this had ever been done before.
Right.
So we overcompensated in a number of categories. They put smoke detectors inside the battery. They put an immersion sensor strip down below in case they drove it into a lake. It would open the interlock switch and it would turn off. They put a shock sensor in it, so if you got in a collision, it would again open the interlock, kill the high voltage.
Wow.
The batteries that came after that, the GMs and the Fords, he said, weren't taking those same precautions. And that's why we had so many recalls with those batteries.
Now, I've read that even the Bolt, which was famously the flamiest of the EVs, was still less likely to burn than an internal combustion engine. Because apparently filling a car full of flammable liquid is not ideal. Now, you had a fire or two at your shop. What happened? What went wrong?
We had two fires, one in 2017.
Okay.
At that point in time, our evolution, everything was experimental. And we were trying to push the limits of a Tesla Roadster battery pack that we bought out of Hawaii, actually. When it ignited, we quickly realized how fast these things burn, and it took down the entire building.
Good grief.
2017. 4 years later in 2021, we had another fire in the replacement building, and this one was not battery related. We had inspectors climbing all over these buildings because the insurance companies are very focused on moving liability around.
They're good at that.
Very good, yes. It reduces their financial liability.
Right.
After the inspectors spent 3 days combing over every single inch of that building, including cordoning off areas, they had white hazmat suits. They determined it to be an electrical fire.
So it was the wiring of the building was...
Exactly. There was sparking in a conduit up above. It was a wooden ceiling. Now, that in and of itself would have just localized the fire had we had a sprinkler system. But the buildings in Phoenix that were below 10,000 square feet didn't need sprinklers when they were built. And to do that after the fact is a 2-year process. We just went through that with another building.
Wow.
So anyway, to make a long story short, even if there was a sprinkler system, once a battery ignites, all bets are off.
It's the wrong tool.
It took the fire department 3 hours pumping 6,000 gallons a minute into the building. There was a waterfall coming out the front door, and their goal was to simply cool the batteries that were continuing to ignite. Wow.
So if someone lives in Phoenix and their car is out of warranty, you do everything for 3S, S, and X. So if the car is out of warranty, you will do the door handles?
Let me explain.
Sure.
The quick day business, out of warranty day business, such as door handles, window regulators, custom product installations, and automatic opening front, those are like day projects. We can take those. It's the longer term projects like battery rebuilding.
Right.
That there's a long lead time because we give favoritism to all the Roadsters coming in. there really aren't any strong options for Roadster repair, like recovering battery packs,
Right.
repairing component level type things like APS systems, power electronics modules, VMS modules, HVAC modules. There aren't companies that can troubleshoot down to component level, so those are the ones that get preference.
Sure. So if you have a Roadster, obviously it's worth shipping it all the way across the country if you need to. But if you're in town and you need something, you're a good shop. Are you already making plans to be working on the Cybertruck?
Yes. However, in our world, in the independent repair world, you have to wait until the warranties expire. So we've got a few years yet before that happens.
Right.
But I do know that the service centers are rebuilding at this point because that guy's heavier than the normal cars and you have to have special lifts for it.
Oh, yes.
And then the Cybertruck's a whole nother beast. That's going to be, again, special equipment. But it's going to be years away for shops like ours that do independent work.
That's very exciting. So I'm so glad that you actually managed to come on out to Austria to join the big event here. In the comments, guys, what did we miss? What did we misunderstand? Are there any questions you have for Pete Gruber of Gruber Motors? All the links are in the description. You can check him out. You can follow him around the web, if you will. It was very awesome meeting you. And yeah, everybody else, like, subscribe, do the usual. You know what you're doing. And stay tuned, stay juicy, and I can't wait to hear from you clever robots on the next one.
And we had to come all the way to Austria to finally meet in person.
Isn't it funny?
Yes.
By the way, bonus time, I will be doing a road trip in a few weeks. I will get in touch if I'm able to get looped through this out.
That'd be wonderful. Yes.
Yeah, I'd love to come in and check it out. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pete.